dark, disturbing ghost stories, the forgotten ones. There are places in this world that history has tried to erase, but some stories refuse to be forgotten. In the remote village of Hauska, deep in the heart of the Czech Republic, stands a castle shrouded in darkness and mystery. Unlike other fortresses built for defense or royalty, Hauska Castle was constructed for an entirely different, more sinister purpose. Its architecture defies logic. Windows that open to blank walls, fortifications facing inward rather than outward, because Hauska wasn't built to keep invaders out. It was built to keep something in. Legend tells of a gaping hole beneath the castle, a gateway to hell. For centuries before the castle's construction in the 13th century, locals spoke of inhuman creatures clawing their way from the depths, grotesque figures with twisted limbs and soulless eyes. They preyed on unsuspecting villagers, snatching livestock and even children, leaving only bloodied remnants behind. The surrounding forests grew eerily silent, as if nature itself feared what lurked below. When Hauska Castle was built, it was said to be an attempt to seal the portal. Priests were brought in to bless the grounds, but even they recoiled in horror. Legend says the first man lowered into the pit emerged moments later. His hair turned white, his mind shattered. He aged decades in mere minutes, babbling incoherently about winged creatures and voices that promised eternal torment. But the darkness didn't stop there. During World War, i.e. when the Nazis occupied Czechoslovakia, they seized Hauska Castle. Drawn by its dark reputation and desperate to harness supernatural power, they conducted occult experiments in the castle's bowels. They believed the gateway could be a source of unimaginable energy or a weapon to turn the tide of war. Witnesses from nearby villages reported strange lights emanating from the castle at night, accompanied by unearthly sounds, a mix of chanting, mechanical whirring, and agonized screams. Entire battalions stationed at the castle disappeared without a trace. Soldiers sent to investigate never returned. Those who did manage to flee spoke of shadows that moved on their own, of comrades being pulled into the darkness by unseen hands. But some stories go deeper. A former Nazi officer's diary, discovered hidden in a false wall decades later, detailed encounters with an entity they called Dear Vergesine, the Forgotten One. This being wasn't just a creature from the pit. It was an ancient, malevolent intelligence. The officer described how it whispered promises of power to the Nazis, but at a price. As they conducted rituals, summoning forces beyond their understanding, the entity began to feed on them body and soul. Their minds twisted, their bodies deteriorated, until they were nothing more than husks, puppets controlled by the very thing they sought to master. The supernatural manifestations escalated. Visitors to Hauska Castle in the years after the war reported impossible phenomena. Blood seeping from the walls, icy drafts that whispered in forgotten languages, and grotesque figures glimpsed just beyond the edge of vision. Some spoke of time behaving strangely, hours passing in what felt like minutes, or entire days disappearing without explanation. The villagers, too, suffered. Crops failed under skies perpetually darkened by unnatural clouds. Livestock were found mutilated in ways no earthly predator could explain. And at night, strange lights flickered above the castle's tower, casting eerie shadows across the landscape. The bravest among them who dared approach the castle described hearing their own names whispered in voices that weren't quite human. One chilling account tells of a group of modern paranormal investigators who in 1997 entered the castle armed with the latest equipment. Their recordings captured chilling electronic voice phenomena, voices pleading for release mingled with guttural growls and inhuman laughter. But midway through their investigation, their equipment malfunctioned and communication ceased. When search teams finally arrived, they found no trace of the investigators, only their gear still recording, capturing endless static interspersed with faint, distant screams. The hole beneath Hauska Castle remained sealed. But barely. Locals say on certain nights, particularly during the blood moon, the ground vibrates as if something beneath is pushing to break free. Strange symbols, long since faded, glow faintly along the walls near the sealed pit. Animals refuse to go near, and even the bravest villagers steer clear as night falls. But perhaps the most terrifying part, recent reports suggest the seal is weakening. An unexplained surge of seismic activity around the castle has been recorded, and those living nearby claim to hear voices calling to them from the depths, familiar voices of loved ones long since passed. It's as if the castle itself is awakening, and the horrors it once contained are ready to be unleashed upon the world. What really lies beneath? Is it a gateway to hell, a portal to another dimension, or something far worse, an ancient force of evil that the world has long forgotten but is about to remember in the most terrifying way?